Israel's Prime Minister says nobody will stop its military actions, not even the International Criminal Court. The ICC is investigating the country's operations in Gaza and the occupied West Bank and could issue warrants for the arrest of Benjamin Netanyahu and other Israeli leaders. He says such a move would be outrageous and set a dangerous precedent. And the foreign minister insists the country will not be deterred and will continue to fight.
The notion that any Israeli government official pay the consequences for their actions has upset Republican senators in the United States so much that they have penned a strongly worded letter to the International Criminal Court. Now, late last month, it was reported that the International Criminal Court was considering issuing arrest warrants for Benjamin Netanyahu, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, and other senior military officials over war crimes that have been committed in Gaza and also the West Bank. Now, Israel is working through some diplomatic channels. They're playing good cop in order to stop these warrants from being issued. However, the US, or at least certain figures within the United States, have decided to play the role of bad cop and issue threats against the International Criminal Court. And this is coming in the form of a letter penned by Republican senators, and they specifically threatened the ICC Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan in a terse one-page letter obtained exclusively by Zetio and signed by 12 GOP senators, including Tom Cotton of Arkansas, Florida's Marco Rubio, and Ted Cruz of Texas. Khan is informed that any attempt by the ICC to hold Netanyahu and his colleagues to account for their actions in Gaza will be interpreted not only as a threat to Israel's sovereignty, but to the sovereignty of the United States. Oh, that's fascinating. So when the International Criminal Court investigates war crimes committed by other countries, is it questioning the sovereignty of those countries, or is it trying to, maintain international law and maintain, certain rules when it comes to the conduct of militaries in a time of war? Now, those who signed the letter, Cenk, include Mitch McConnell, Marsha Blackburn, Katie Boyd Britt, Ted Budd, Kevin Cramer, Bill Hagerty, Pete Ricketts, and Rick Scott and Tim Scott also signed the letter. There's more.
Pausing here to deliver some honest truth as we do in our news coverage as well. TYT is facing challenges, guys, as the entire industry is. You know who could make the difference? You. If you hit the join button below, it's gonna make all the difference and keep us in business. We appreciate you, thank you. So in the past, we've shown you how a number of people on this list have gotten huge money from AIPAC. And so that's the American Israel PAC. And guys, so I want you to explain the context for you all. So are there awful anti-Semitic tropes in the world? Yes, there are, right? And is one of them, the Jews secretly control everyone and they're the puppet masters, et cetera? Yes, we've shown you right-wingers that even have the tattoo of Soros as the puppet master. And that's a thing that was used back in the 1930s in Germany, et cetera. So those things are real, and if you don't know them, you should know them so that you understand why people are so sensitive about it. But at the same time, AIPAC is going to spend $100 million. And right now, they're spending a couple of $1 million through a pro-science PAC to defeat Pramila Jayapal's sister who's running for Congress. Intercept just reported on that. And so as they eliminate anyone who dares to oppose or criticize, simple criticism of a foreign government, you can't then say, you can't say facts about my lobbying efforts because of old anti-Semitic tropes. Well, brother, then we're stuck. What are we supposed to do? Okay, AIPAC is actually purchasing all these politicians. They're not alone. The drug companies and all the other corporations that give donations also purchase them. It's not specific to Jewish people at all, not within 1%. Now, but if you say, do not say those facts, and pretend you don't know why these Republicans are supporting Israel unconditionally, why they're protecting them from war crime charges and attacking the United Nations, and talking about ending our cooperation with the whole world because the right-wing leaders of Israel have demanded it. Well, how do I do the news without telling you what's actually happening? Is it because of the AIPAC money? Definitely. If anyone is telling you, oh no, these Republican and Democratic politicians that all took money from AIPAC,
And for a lot of the leadership, AIPAC is their top donor. That it doesn't influence them. Well, that's just a flat out lie. It definitely influences them. And it is what, otherwise they just did it because, they have such an emotional connection to Israel. They're politicians, they don't have an emotional connection to anything.
Except for their own pockets.
Except for their own pockets.
Let's just keep it real.
So don't say crazy things about ethnic groups or religious groups, etc. Having said that, can you accurately state why politicians do what they do, which is lobbyist money? Definitely. So these people are basically raising their hands and saying, as long as you pay me through this lobbying group, I will serve Israel and not America.
How many times do we have to repeat this? How many times does that caveat need to be repeated so we can cover a story the way we would cover any other story or any other conflict involving any other country? I'm serious because I'm getting kind of tired of it.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, no one here on this show is saying that Jews control everything. No one on this show is anti-Semitic. If you're not an adult and you have difficulty comprehending or absorbing information or criticism against a foreign country, and you want to just label anyone who has criticism against a foreign country as an anti-Semite, then don't watch this show. But like, we can't keep doing this caveat every time we cover Israel. Come on.
I hear you, but I want to explain the context for everybody, and I want to be careful because those tropes exist. Having said that, guys, Anna's right. Nobody ever says when Egypt gives money to Menendez and the gold bullion in his closet, etc. Now there's the stereotypes about Egyptians, which, by the way, there are some stereotypes about Egyptians.
Azerbaijan bought Henry Cuellar. He got indicted for it, okay? So yeah, they're moneyed interests representing every foreign country. It's just that when it comes to the Israel lobby, they're much more well-resourced, and yes, they're powerful. And so you literally have a lengthy list of Republican senators who were elected by American citizens, not by Israeli citizens, to represent American citizens, constituents in their state. And instead, they're spending their time writing a strongly worded letter threatening the International Criminal Court on behalf of a foreign country that has carried out war crimes in Gaza. That is what this story is. If that offends you, okay, and you think that's anti-Semitic information to relay to you, then that's your problem.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, that is your problem.
But I don't just say that for the viewers out there. Yes, mainstream, if you don't understand the context, that's why I'm giving you the context. Mainstream media will never mention the AIPAC money in relationship to actual votes in Congress and to actual actions like this when politicians stand up and go, no, we're for war criminals. America's definitely for war criminals who created the worst atrocities we've seen, some of the worst atrocities we've seen in our lifetime. You have to be totally confused as to why they would do that and why mainstream media would say you're not allowed to talk about their motivations. Okay, so look, let's get to the war crimes because that's what they're covering up here. And it's unbelievably gross, including mass graves and torture.
So the UN conducted an investigation looking into some of the mass graves that were found in Gaza near hospitals that have been pretty much destroyed. And the details are just difficult to read about, but I'm gonna give you the information. So they discovered mass graves with corpses that showed clear signs of abuse and torture. The United Nations Special Procedures released a statement saying, we are horrified at details emerging from mass graves recently unearthed in the Gaza Strip. Over 390 bodies have been discovered at Nasser and Al-Shifa hospitals, including of women and children, with many reportedly showing signs of torture and summary executions and potential instances of people buried alive. Is it anti-Semitic to state what the UN investigation into these mass graves stated? Are there enough adults in the world who can absorb this accurate information about the atrocities that were committed against innocent people in Gaza, or is that anti-Semitic, Cenk?
No, in all seriousness, I believe that the majority of mainstream media, which by the way has not reported this, as far as I know, cable news has not mentioned this once. But they're very concerned about the safety of some people in America. But when you talk about mass graves, etc., why don't they mention this? Because, well, they've been pretending all along that Israel is accidentally killing 24,000 women and children, accidentally doing a Where's Daddy program where they purposely murder their family members, accidentally using snipers to kill children and women, okay?
Biden is a disgrace, okay? Biden is a full-blown disgrace of a president, of a human being. Okay, all of that nonsense about how he's such a moral and decent person, and he really knows how to connect with voters who have suffered from such severe loss. He's such a great guy. Do you think he mentioned this UN investigation?
Never, no.
He gave a speech today about about anti-Semitism and how we must fight it. Which, okay, that's fine, but how about a mention, at least a mention for the Palestinians who are literally buried alive based on this investigation by the UN?
Yeah, and so it was, okay, it was Holocaust Remembrance Day, and that's why Biden only mentioned Israel and the Jewish part. And I get it, and if he mentioned it on the Holocaust Remembrance Day, a whole heap of people would have ripped his head off, okay? And so who are those heap of people? Yeah, some are media, some are donors, etc. But brother, you can't say on Holocaust Remembrance Day, never again.
As it's happening now.
And then do an asterisk and go, yeah, but it's okay if it's Palestinians or Muslims. It's not okay. And look, so they use the charges of anti-Semitism 24/7 as a political tool, and it's really gross, right? So, but in reality, if you say 1,200 people killed, 860 civilians on October 7th is terrible, which I hope to God you do say, and then you say 34,500 dead in Gaza, 8,000 buried in the rubble, that's over 42,000 dead, confirmed 24,000 women and children dead, is not a big deal. Their lives are not as important as the 1,200 that were lost.
They don't even get a mention.
Yeah,
Jake. They don't even get a mention.
They don't even get a mention.
They don't get a mention.
Then don't say never again. Just don't say it. Just say, hey, if you're American or you're Israeli or Jewish or certain religions, Christian, whatever, then never again. But Muslims will kill all day long and no one cares. Biden doesn't care. The media doesn't care. And honestly, the reason I brought up anti-Semitism in this context is because if they're going to do false charges of anti-Semitism 24/7 for political purposes to defend this foreign government, well, okay, then if you say that the 24,000 women and children dead are not as important as the 860 dead on the Israeli side, you're being overtly racist. You're saying Muslim lives don't matter. Who gives a damn about Muslim women and children? Let them, Israel should go into Rafah and massacre more innocent women and children?
Here's some more details.
That's an avowedly racist position.
Yeah, they don't care. Here's some more details from the UN investigation. The treatment of pregnant and lactating women continues to be appalling, with the direct bombardment of hospitals and deliberate denial of access to healthcare facilities by Israeli snipers. They refer to it as deliberate. Combined with the lack of beds and medical resources, placing an estimated 50,000 pregnant Palestinian women and 20,000 newborn babies at unimaginable risk. Over 183 women per day are giving birth without pain relief, while hundreds of babies have died because of a lack of electricity to power incubators. The dreadful conditions have resulted in increases in miscarriages by up to 300%. And understandably, the international community sees reports like this. They see the footage of what Gaza looks like, what the bombardments look like, what the pain and suffering looks like. And the International Criminal Court is understandably considering, arrest warrants for people like Benjamin Netanyahu. And in response to that, in response to all of that slaughter, you have Republican members of our Senate writing to the ICC to say, target Israel and we will target you. Okay, the senators tell ICC Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan, adding that they will sanction your employees and associates and bar you and your families from the United States.
By the way, they never threatened this when the same tribunals were looking into war crimes that America committed potentially in Iraq and Afghanistan. So guys, don't tell me that the AIPAC money isn't relevant when all of a sudden they say the one country you cannot ever sanction is not America, but Israel. And if you dare do it to Israel, we'll go after your family members and sanction them. If you're one of the good guys, human rights experts that are trying to prevent ethnic cleansing and a genocide. If you live outside America, you've got to be wondering, who the hell are we debating? These things are so obvious and the whole world knows them. Why are you guys getting all worked up about things that are so clear? The top human rights experts in the world have all agreed to this. Because here in America, It's wall-to-wall gaslighting. Establishment media and establishment politicians all pretending that Israel is so moral and just and holy, and they had to do all of this, and the goddamn violent, savage Palestinians made them kill the Palestinians.
Right.
I mean, this, and so if you live outside the country, you realize that's lunacy. If you live inside America, this is the propaganda we have to deal with 24/7. And our job here is to deliver the truth to you guys and not the nonsense propaganda the mainstream media is trying to brainwash you with.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.